Good morning. Well, it is Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, and this is one of, if not the most heavily traveled days of the year. For other people, it is a day when they are frantically cleaning the house or working on getting the meal ready for tomorrow, or maybe even going out to the stores to try to find those last-minute things that they needed to have to make Thanksgiving just perfect this year. And that's okay. That's fine. It's good that we do that. I'm thankful that we have Thanksgiving. But we also want to make sure that today, as well as tomorrow, with all of the frenzy and all of the hoopla, that we remember that the purpose of Thanksgiving is to be thankful. And in one way, the most perfect definition of thankfulness is contentment. If I am thankful, it means that I'm content. I don't need any more. Whether that is I am thankful for my spouse, who I am, for whom I am, and I don't need anybody else. And I'm thankful for who she is and for how we are together. Thankful for the things that I have. Thankful for my friends, for my church family, all of those things. And to be content with that. Not to say there can't be improvements in all of that, but to be content that I am blessed. I'm blessed by the Lord. I read recently a little devotional by Reverend Sergei Sasedkin, and Reverend Sasedkin grew up in Soviet Russia, and he said that when he grew up in the Soviet Union, he and his friends, when they were teenagers, would always go to this particular shop that sold bread and cheese, and they would buy a loaf of bread, and the very, very kind shopkeeper would slice the cheese for them, and then they would go out and make the bread and the cheese into sandwiches, and it was so good. It was a wonderful snack for those teenage boys. But what he really remembered was the kind, gracious shopkeeper who always offered words of encouragement to them as they were in the shop. Well, the Soviet Union collapsed, and with that came all kinds of shortages, and the shop where they would go no longer had cheese, or rarely had cheese, and apparently the woman also had moved on or retired or whatever. And so they would go in there and they could only get a loaf of bread. And on the one hand, it was disappointing because that bread and cheese had been so good and they enjoyed it so much. But he said, going into that shop, I remembered that woman, and I remembered how encouraging she was to us, and she didn't have to be encouraging to a bunch of teenage boys, and somehow that made me be able to be content just with the bread. The bread brought back those memories of that woman who loved us and cared for us. And he connects that to Hebrews, the 13th chapter, verses 5 and 6. Keep your lives free from the love of money, and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you or forsake you. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can anyone do to me? And Reverend Sasedkin says, we may have to go through difficult times of having no cheese on the shelves, or even worse. But as children of God, we are assured of his continuous love and care. The Lord himself is our helper. So let me ask you on this day, what is it in your life that you are thankful for? Who is it that you are thankful for? And let that bring up for you feelings of contentment. Now, this may be a Thanksgiving where there is not as much cheese on the shelf as there was before. Financial difficulties, you may have had losses of people in your life in the last year or recent years, and there'll be an empty place at the table. There may be other problems, relational difficulties, or other difficulties that are making this Thanksgiving perhaps threaten for it not to be as joyful or as thankful as others were. What are you content with? And what can you make, even of a little less, that can remind you that indeed the Lord is our helper, and if the Lord is our helper, we have nothing else to fear. Again, let me share with you. Be content with what you have, for he has said, I will never leave you or forsake you. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can anyone do to me? Those promises are true because the Lord is with us. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you. Amen.